Good morning, everyone. It is a warm day. The sun's not necessarily out, but my eyes are really bothering me because of the allergies. They're watering a lot. They are burning and itchy. So I have on my shades, but it's really warm out here. It says 59 degrees in my car. For Massachusetts, if you're watching me from another state, if you're watching me from another state, then you know, or if you're from the South, then you don't know that this is rare for April to be 59 degrees. I think this is the maximum amount of, or this is the highest temperature it gets in April, around 60. But for it to start off in 60 degrees, and according to the weatherman, we're supposed to get up to the upper 80s. That's rare for New England. That's rare for Massachusetts. So, and it's gonna be like this for the next 3 days. Although we're supposed to get like a thunderstorm today, it's still rare for us to have this kind of warm weather in April. But I'm not gonna complain because it's been so cold, and we had a massive snowstorm this year. Probably one of the biggest ones we've had in a little while. But if you came here now and looked around, you would see there's no snow on the ground anymore because the weather is so up and down. And then they said by Monday it's supposed to be back in the 50s, the highest in the 50s. So anyway, I didn't get on here to be Al Roker. I came to say good morning to y'all. I don't know if I have a lot to talk about, and I always say I don't, and then I end up start talking and I have a whole bunch to say. I will just say that I'm grateful to God. You know, we had corporate prayer last night, and it was only me and 2 other people. And you know, you could be discouraged that people don't want to pray. You could be upset that people are not coming out to prayer, but it's not about you. And honestly, you don't need an audience to pray, because when you're at home and you're in your prayer closet, there is no audience. There is no one there to pray with you. There's no B3, there's no drums, there's no applause, there's no distant hallelujah in the background. It's just you. And if we don't know how to pray by ourselves in our prayer rooms, then we don't know how to pray corporately unless it's accompanied with an applause or music or support. And let me say this too: prayer is not screaming. That does not mean you're praying. Just because you can scream and holler hallelujah. You know, sometimes when I watch a church service and you see people get up and they're doing the invocation, or they're doing the opening prayer for the service, you know, you and I understand you only have a couple minutes and you're invoking the presence of the Lord to come into the church house, but we get it twisted when we think that prayer means hallelujah, Lord. That is not what prayer is. And you don't have to have anybody, you know, praying out loud, because then it becomes, you know, about you. You're actually invoking God to come into the room. So your audience really is only one. You're trying to get God to come into the service, and you know, you only got a couple minutes, so I understand you want to hurry up and get it all out. But you know, now I'm not saying that you don't feel it after a while, and your voice elevates, because you know you start feeling the power of God. But it doesn't mean just because you're praying out loud that is that is what is labeled as prayer. Prayer is your sincere heart desiring whatever from God. And there is no specific language. There's no specific things that you should be saying, right? It's just a matter of your heart. We have some people that just know how to get God to come into the room, to feel his presence, because they know how to tap in. And that, I believe, comes from individual prayer by yourself, a lifestyle of prayer. I want to share this too with you all, that I have my prayer room is literally in my closet. So you know how people say you got to have a prayer closet. I really do have a place in my closet where I pray. And my son, so I have my exercise bike in my prayer room, in my closet. I have an exercise bike in there. And I had spent hours, because, you know, when you go through a week of church, everything that you wore that week is on the floor. Not intentionally, but you're in a rush. You get off of work. Come on, lady. I don't want to hit you, but you are so in the way. You get off work, you're feeding your kids, you're feeding yourself, you're cooking. I'm the only one that cooks in my house. You cook, you feed your kids, you get in the tub, you get dressed, and you're off to church. And when you get home, it's late, you're throwing your clothes off. Sometimes they go in the hamper, sometimes they don't. And the church clothes sometimes just need to go to the cleaners. But anyway, my clothes had gotten all out of whack. So I spent hours picking my clothes up from, you know, a week of church. Hours, y'all. Hours. Because it had been some stuff on the floor prior to that, too. So, I was almost done. My son came in the room and hopped on my exercise bike and treated my exercise bike like a real bike, and decided he was going to stand up. You know how you stand up on a motorcycle, on a bike, and you're riding and you're pedaling? He decides he's going to stand up on my bike and hit my closet rod. Boom. All my clothes right back on the floor. All my clothes right back on the floor. I might edit this video because I want y'all to see what it was like. I saw a video of some lady who said this is what it's like raising boys. She had just finished vacuuming the floor, and he came and jumped on the floor with a box of cereal or something in his hand and dropped it all on the floor. It was so funny, but it's just classic what it's like to raise boys. Anyway, right after I did that, he knocked all my clothes on the floor. So my clothes have been on the floor now for quite some time because I lost all energy. I lost all hope of wanting to even get those clothes back off the floor because, you know, he destroyed it. And so, can you wait a minute? So, oh, sorry, y'all. So, I just been putting it off, trying to get my clothes back off the floor because I just didn't have the energy to put in another 2, 3, 4 hours. Because when he knocked it down, he broke the rod, so I couldn't put the clothes back. So I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to fix this? And then what ended up happening is, because my room was chaotic and in a big mess, I had no desire to go in there and pray because my anxiety would just send me through the roof. Looking at my room being so dirty, there was no place for me to pray anymore. And I was trying to figure out, God, I gotta clean up this room. I gotta do something. And I kept looking at different, like, wardrobe things. I went to the store to try to find the exact rod. I couldn't find it. I went online to see if I can reorder just the rod from the organizer for my closet. Couldn't get that unless I bought the whole kit, and I wasn't gonna do that. So I was stuck. I had nothing to do, and I just kept putting it off. What am I gonna do, God? What am I gonna do about this closet? I need to get my clothes off the floor because it's bringing me anxiety. And I was at a recording with my sister Ebony, and for her prayer recording, and there was a moment where there was quiet. We were all in worship, and I heard the Lord say, "Clean up your space." And I was like, wow. And then right after he said it to me, my sister Ebony said it too, "Clean up your space." I was like, dag, all right, God. All right. So I got to go in there because we can pray anywhere and at any time. But when you go to a dedicated time and a dedicated space, he meets you there. Even if you're not saying anything, even if you're just sitting in the room, that is the dedicated time. That is the dedicated space that we set aside to talk to him. And so I got to clean up that room. But I want to encourage you all to find a prayer life. Get a prayer life. Dedicated time and dedicated space. You know, we say we're going to do it when we get home, and then life happens and we never get home and pray. Do it early. Seek him early. Do it when the house is quiet. You know, because you have to have prayer time. It's important that we spend time in his presence. It's important that we spend time in prayer. And there is no line that you have to repeat. There is no specific words you have to say. It's just a conversation with you and God. And don't neglect the times where it needs to be a two-way conversation. So don't neglect the fact that, you know, you're praying, but sit still and let him talk back. And a lot of times he's not in the noise. Elijah, I think Elijah or Elisha, one of them, he was listening for God, and it wasn't in the loud noise. It was in a soft whisper. So sit back, let him talk to you, let him minister to you. He's not going to yell at you. He's just going to tell you something. Listen to him. It has to be a two-way conversation. You want to talk to him and tell him what your requests are, or just have intimacy with him, and then let him talk back to you. That's all. I'm running late as usual. I can't get it together lately. But anyway, I love y'all. Have a good day. Bye.